Good morning, my Teaserking family. Wasn't on yesterday. Had some errands to do with all this bullshit. Anyway, I am here. And okay, sorry about that. I've been busy with this stupid unemployment thing. So I get this letter. I worked at Tenneco as a contractor. And then they ended the assignment. They just said, oh, the assignment ended. Okay. Any problems? Nope, no problems. Okay. So I do my unemployment. I get something I have to do to say, nope, I worked there. This is how much I made. And the assignment ended because they eliminated the position. Unemployment looks at it, goes fine. And I start collecting my employment. Now the contract house is doing something. And now there's a judge hearing the 31st. Well, so I call the court and I go, what's this about? And what am I calling a judge for? It's unemployment. I've never called a judge. They said, well, they're appealing. They don't want to pay. She said, this is normal for these temporary agencies to try to get out of it. Oh, okay. So I said, well, can you tell me what it's about? And there's a section 29.1 which says, a voluntary leaving may apply. In other words, I quit is what they're saying, which they have to prove, which they can't prove because it didn't happen. My boss came in, told me we're eliminating your position. Okay, fine. I know you're trying to sell this piece of it. That's what you're trying to do is just downsize and sell your company piece by piece, which is why you took ignition out of the powertrain. Okay. I figured it was, I figured something like that, but okay, whatever. And I thought it was all set. So that's what this is about, apparently. And I'm laughing, going, where are they getting that I quit? At what point did I quit? Are you kidding me? I don't understand it. I did hire an attorney. Well, I didn't hire one. It's through the unemployment. They gave me a list of attorneys. So I called one. She's waiting for the file because I said, what's this about? She said, well, call me at like 6:15 tonight and we can, after, because she's so busy with getting these things. So she probably bills the state a lot of money, my guess. Okay. But then I called the court back because I didn't like that. I didn't get an answer. And they just said, no, it's about voluntary leaving. I said, and she said, don't worry. They have to prove it. She said, no, this is what these contract firms do. They don't want to pay the unemployment. So they make up a story. where you would get disqualified from paying it, but they have to prove that you quit. Well, not only did I not quit, but I was told that I left due to volunteer, that they eliminated the position. So if I'm told they eliminated the position, where are they getting I quit from? So I think it's just a big game that they don't want to pay. But I can assure you I did, but I couldn't prove like they eliminated the position was just a verbal between me and my boss. I couldn't prove that either without getting a statement from my boss that the position was eliminated. So that's what was said. But I do have an email to the guy that says my position got eliminated. So I do have that email in my back pocket if I need to, stating the day I left, the position was eliminated. So I don't know. They're pretty stupid to try to do this. I guess they're losing their ass. But yeah, let's go after the guy who's unemployed. So it's appalling. But, what are you going to do? Let's see. I mean, this is like a whole. I mean, this is a telephone thing. This is hysterical. Anyway, I had started to do the Mountain West, the MAC and the Sun Belt, and then I got a phone call and I had to take it. So I redo that maybe tonight after talking to the attorney. I got to go to swim and then I talk to the attorney at 6:15. So crazy night. Where I left you at 6:21, I had 6 winners and 1 loser. The only one that lost was the Yanks over 8.5. We had Pitt, Philly, Milwaukee, Arizona over 9, the Mets in Atlanta on 7/21. So a nice 6 in one day. Now we go to 7/23. And let's do that. First, let's talk gold. So gold's sitting nicely at 34. Whoa. That's a bad reset. 33.92. It's the first time it broke 34. I do expect it to go back. And silver just dropped. It was 39.40 to 39.14. But this is par. This is done by options. Nothing to worry about. Who knows what was said at noon, but still, we're fine. I'm waiting for silver to hit 40. So we were doing good at 33.50, I believe we got to. Let's see, silver today. Yeah, so silver was 33.50. And then notice how it does the same drop at noon as gold does and down to 39.14. So we hope to see it bounce, but it should bounce back pretty much similar as it's dropped. 33.91. So there'll be a point where then the buying comes. So just not to worry. But it's good to see silver back into the 39s and pretty much holding pretty much. We might get some more stupid derivatives, but we'll see. The stock market is up 400 points. It's hard to believe. 44.8. This is, I think people are, from what I saw on a YouTube, was that people don't understand. They think because the Fed isn't lowering rates, there's no recession. So it's almost like everybody's clueless. If the Fed does this, we're going to do that. Oh, the Fed didn't lower rates. So therefore, the economy is good, and therefore I'm going to buy stock. Right? It reminds you of Madoff. Since the SEC didn't find them any problems with them, then, if the SEC didn't do anything, then it must be good. Yeah, the SEC validated that Madoff wasn't a Ponzi scheme by not doing anything. You're getting 15% and you can't get any documentation of what's going on except for you get stocks that everyone went up, um, and you don't understand how he picks so well every month. You get 15%, and he's picking stocks, and you don't understand it. Yeah, okay. Anyway, let's look at baseball. I see China's airports. There's nobody flying. Um, uh, Basically, everything's collapsing. But yeah, let's buy stocks. That'll work when the economy's collapsing. All right. Let's look at streaks. The American League. Nothing really. We got a few 3-game, like Houston's on a 3-game, but we'll wait till it hits 4. Cleveland's on a 3-game win streak, and the Tigers are on a 2-game losing streak, but they're on a 8 out of 9 losing streak. So they won with Skubal. Say they lost 7 in a row. One with Skubal, and now lost 2 more to the mighty Pittsburgh Steelers. So really nobody on a streak in the American League. Again, you could say Cleveland, and they're a whopping 500, and now Detroit is 60-42, and all of a sudden they're got a 9-game lead on Cleveland, and all of a sudden you start realizing it. I heard they made some really stupid errors. Some guy, how you do this, I don't know, slid into home and didn't touch the plate. And really, the key to it is you touch it with your hand. I used to do that in softball. I would slide face first into the right-hander batter's box and then reach out with my left hand and touch the plate. It was very clever because you couldn't really tag me because I'm 4 feet over in the batter's box sliding. But since I could touch the plate, I was ruled to be okay. So how does a guy tag up and not touch the plate? I mean, and then I guess Torkelson, the mighty first baseman who just blows, didn't run after a ball, and the guy scored because he didn't run after the ball. So it was just sitting, I guess, in the infield or that. He didn't hustle after it. So what do we got here? They're all quitting. The mighty AJ Hence, he needs to be fired. National League, the Mets are on a 3-game win streak, a couple of 2-game win streaks. Nothing in the Central. Milwaukee finally lost, and we didn't bet it because we weren't on yesterday. So, but there you go. They won 10 in a row. Milwaukee had won 9. I think they had won 10. And now they lose. So we won 7, 8 times with Milwaukee. And now you get off of them. Now we don't bet Milwaukee. We let it go. Another 3-game losing streak, and then nothing. So there are no streaks. There's a few 3-game losing streaks or winning streaks, but we don't care. We're waiting until they get 4. Because it's really, to me, a streak. If you're going to bet streaks, you want it to be, at least. If I was playing baccarat, or if I was playing roulette, and it hit black 3 times or it hit bank 3 times, then I would start betting. Because that's what I'm looking for. I figure I can get a 10-game win streak, 10-game black or 10-game red or bank or player. So I want to catch it early, but I can't catch it at 1, and I can't really catch it at 2. But after 3, I'm jumping on it. So after 3 here, we'll start jumping on it. So with no streaks today, we already have 2 games go off at 12 o'clock. Jesus Christ. Today's Wednesday, the 23rd. All right. Cincinnati at Washington, it's 0-0 in the bottom of the first. San Diego, Miami, top of the first, 0-0. Miami's been playing better ball. San Diego, not so good. Their bullpen was exposed in that All-Star game. All right, the 49ers and Atlanta. Now there's no streak, so now it's just back to pitching. Atlanta 167.5. The mighty Justin Verlander, how the mighty have fallen. 0-8 with the 4.99. Spencer Strider 4-7 with the 3.59. Uh, this is lousy. Frisco doesn't hit. Frisco's got 2 hitters, and Atlanta has 3 hitters. So not a lot of hitters going on. Let's see. Oh, that game started. So I guess we're not doing Verlander. Wow, these at 12:35. Look at all these early starts on a Wednesday. Detroit at Pitt. I better get it in before we lose it. We got 20 minutes. Detroit 135-9. Troy Melton just called up against Bailey Falter 6-5 at the 4. It's hard to bet over with Detroit, so we're gonna bet this game. It's hard to bet under with Troy Melton. We got to bet Pittsburgh here. Detroit, even though they're not on a streak per se. Um, Even though they're not on a streak, they're playing like shit. They've won 1 game, and that was a school ball, and they barely won that game, 2-1. Bailey Falter, not great, 6-5 with a 4, but Detroit's not hitting. Troy Melton's, what's he going to do? Pittsburgh should hit it. Detroit's actually favored 135 with Troy Melton. Hard to believe. Let's see the last 5 with this guy. Gave up 4 runs to the White Sox, 3 to the KC, 4 to Seattle. Lasted a whole inning and 2/3 against the Mets and only gave up 1 run. 3 to Texas, 3 to Detroit. So he lost to Detroit 7-3 last time. So Detroit should hit them, even though they're not hitting. Pittsburgh should hit this Melton. Do we go over 9 with Pittsburgh? Oof. They were hitting the hell out of Flaherty, and yesterday too. They were hitting the hell out of KC Mize. So yeah, let's take Pitt. They're hitting the ball. I think they'll keep hitting, and Detroit just isn't hitting. I thought it was what, an 8-4. Maybe we should go over. Well, let's go over 9. Let's make it an over, and we'll go 2 units. All right, so we get that in before they start. The California Mets 175-9. Brock Burke 4-1 with the 3.38. Sean Manaea 0-1 with the 2.45. Should be a good game. I don't know. California's starting to hit. The Mets hit. Really unpredictable what they're going to do. Decent pitching. I'm going to let it go. Probably a little nod to the JETSs. Kansas City and the Cubbies. The Cubbies 170-10. Seth Lugo 5-2, 294. Colin Ray 8-3 with the 3.80. Over under a 10. The wind must be blowing out at Wrigley. I love how they dedicate it based on the wind. I'm going to go under 10 here. KC under 10. 2 units. So we'll see what's happening. You got 2 good pitchers. Yeah, it's at Wrigley, but 10's a lot of numbers. 10's a lot of runs with these 2 pitchers. St. Louis at Colorado. I guess Colorado's been pretty hot. They're up to 25 wins. 25-76. So in 100 games, they've won 25%. St. Louis 185-11, but I don't have pitchers, so we got to ignore. Houston goes to Arizona. Arizona 125, 8.5. Brandon Walter 1-3 with the 3.66. Brandon Fat 4-6 at the 4.82. Probably an over, but I'm not going to play. This is where the 3.6s to the 4.8s I don't want to do. Milwaukee at Seattle. Seattle 135, 7.5. Quinn Priester 8-2 with the 3.33. Louis Castillo 7-5 with the 3.21. Both have low 3 ERAs. Milwaukee was red hot, 8-2 with the 3.33. Seattle was red hot, so they're both 2 pretty hot teams. 7.5 seems low. Well, Seattle does have trouble scoring at home. So what I think would be an over. Again, I'm frozen, so I won't play it, but I do think that's an over. The Vikings and the Rams. 1973, 4, 5, 6 championship playoff game where the Vikes and the Rams played in the cold. It's funny, it was mostly in Minnesota in zero weather. See, if they only would have got a Super Bowl where it was 10 below, Minnesota would have won. That's the problem when you play with weather. It's like Denver. Denver's mile high. Minnesota is the cold. Green Bay is the cold. So that's a huge advantage that you have there. The Dodgers 220-9. Chris Paddock 3.5 with the 5.14. Tyler Glass now 1-1 with the 3.10. We're gonna go over here, min over 10, and we'll go 2 units. Only because I think Paddock they're gonna hit, and Glass now 1-1 with the 3.10. I think Minnesota hits him. I think you'll see more than 10 rounds. Actually, it's 9. It just changed. Okay. We'll go over 9. The sharp must have bet it under. Baltimore, Cleveland. Cleveland 130 and 8.5. Zach Eflin 6-5, 5.95. Slade Cione 5-4, 3.84. I don't like this game at all. Cleveland's been hot, so let's bet Cleveland because they're trying to catch Detroit. 2 units. Boston, Philly. Philly's been getting hot. Luis Giuliano 6-2, 3.59. Jesus Luzardo 8-5 with a 4.29. Should be high scoring. The game's in Philly, 8.5. Yeah, I'm going to take Philly over. Bryce Harper's back. Philly's been playing well. So Boston's been playing better. So they've been hitting more. I don't see either of these pitchers stopping the hitting. The Yanks at Toronto. We got the Yanks 135, 8.5. Actually, a night game. The Philly game was a night game. Okay, we're getting some night games here. Yanks 135, 8.5. Max Fried. Here we go. 11-3 with the 2.43 against Chris Bassett, their best pitcher. 10-4 with the 3.89. Total of 8.5. We're going to go under. The Yanks under 8.5. Max Fried special, and we'll go 2 units. And Bassett's a good. He's 10-4. The White Sox, Tampa 210-9. Jonathan Cannon 4-7 with the 4.18 for the White Sox. Ty Bradley for Tampa 6-6 with the 4.35. What can you do with this game? I'm going to go over T-Bay over 9, 2 units. Just because Tampa is playing in the in Steinbrenner Stadium, which is like a softball field. White Sox have been playing much better. So look for some runs here. Neither pitchers, they're both in the 4s. In their last game, Oakland, Texas. Texas 148.5. JP Sears 7-8 with the 5.13 against Patrick Corbin, 6-7 with the 3.91. Texas scores in some games. I think this is an over 2, but I'm not going to play it. So with no streaks, we had to invent our bets as we've been doing. We'll start with Pitt over 9 for 2 units against the Tigers. KC, and that starts in like 10 minutes. KC under 10, 2 units. Minnesota over 9, 2 units. Cleveland, 2 units. Philly over 8.5, 2. The Yankees under 8.5. The Yankees have been a mystery. They start scoring, and they bet them over, and then they play a 4-2 game. And then Tampa over 9, 2 units. So 3, 6, 7 games, but none are on streaks. Now, there's a few streaks that are a 3, and we'll wait and see. If they win today, then we'll start betting them. And I think in the streak, especially baseball, what you're doing is you're actually what's hard is you got 5 pitchers, right? So you got to win all 5, but then you got to face the 8. You face Skubal, right? And that's what makes it difficult is then you beat him, then you can keep going. So you almost want to look for a streak where the pitcher is where you've just beaten the ace. You just beat Skubal. Okay, let's jump on the team. or you just beat Max Fried, or you just beat whoever else we got in the league that's any good. Like Skeins. If you beat Skeins, then I'm going to bet you the next 4 or 5 games. Maybe that'll be our new thing too. If you beat the ace, it's a new game. So that's baseball. We've been red hot at it. Like I said, 6-1 on the 21st. We were 6-6 the day before on the Sunday. But before that, we were 6-3, 5-2, 7-1, 5-0. So we've been pretty hot. The Sundays, I don't know why, but they always end the streaks. I don't know what's going on. I think the Tigers are falling apart. I think they're in big trouble. They were never that good, but then all of a sudden, Joe Flaherty's terrible. The relievers are terrible. They brought up new relievers that are terrible. Casey Mize is okay. He's decent. Skubal lost a few games. The other star, Rusty Olson. I mean, they're pretty weak. And then they get to the bullpen. And because the manager is such a bad style, where he wants to go to his bullpen after 5 or 6 innings, even Skubal's pitching a shutout and 90 pitches after 7 innings, he pulls him. What are you doing? We have one reliever in Vest, or they have one reliever in Vest, and that's it. So, not sure. See, what worked for him before, and all the pinch hitting and all the moving, you'll play third today, you'll play short tomorrow, you'll play second the next day, and then you go play center field. What was Happy Bias doing in the All-Star game in center field? Guy played 20 games in center field. He's an all-star? Are you kidding? This is the best center fielder we have in the league? Are you kidding? He's a shortstop, and not a very good one. So, very surprising. But was working for the managers not. Maybe they can't steal signs anymore. Hey, David. Good morning. Now, FYI for you who are getting up in age, who start pulling your 401ks, at least in the state of Michigan, if you file like on TurboTax, or I filed on Tax USA or whatever, and you get the federal for free, you just send it in. It does the state for you, but you got to pay $15, $20 for them to mail in the state or wire it in. My advice is pay the $20. You don't want to, but for what happened to me, I was supposed to get a $200 refund. They wanted to charge me $1,500 because they didn't get a form. Well, I didn't know to give a form because all I did was take the numbers that I see in Tax USA, and I wrote it. I got the book from the library, and I wrote in my numbers on the state form and mailed it in. Where they're saying, "Oh, wait, it doesn't count because you didn't have this form on there." So then I paid for it, and then I went to the library because I don't have a printer anymore, and I pulled it and I paid for it, and then I got there was 4 forms I needed. So for 60 cents, so it was fine. And I went and basically just mailed it today. I went to the post office where I knew it would go out today and mailed it in. So my advice is we don't want to pay the $15, $20. Could we afford it? Of course. But, we just want to, I'll just fill in the form from the book at the library and then mail it. Just send it in, because just have them send it, because there's these sneaky forms. Then you're going to have to do the forms later. Now, there's no penalty for me, but I'm going to have to do as long as they get the forms, then give me my refund. So that's where it's at. So just FYI, I know we don't want to, but if you can see the form, if you can view your return without having to pay for it, then look at all the forms and then say, oh, I need this form and I need these forms. And then it was not a lot on there. It was put your name, put some amount in and that. but it's already done. So just pay it and let them send it, and then you don't get stuff like that. Um, what else? So a lot of stuff happening in the news and BRICS and COMEX and China and everything. So we're all waiting for COMEX to break apart, which should happen soon. Let's see. So because it's like the Madoff Ponzi scheme. Madoff worked because nobody asked for their money. They were content getting 15% a month. So they said, I don't want my money. I'll leave it in there and keep getting the 15%, and I live off the 15%. That's like my retirement fund. And so that's what they were doing until September, the housing crash happened. When the housing crash happened, they did have money in stock, so they had to pay margin calls, or they were losing money elsewhere, and so they needed money. So they go, oh, I'll take it out of Madoff. It's like me. If I need money, I'll sell an ounce of gold. That's my what do you call it? I can't think of the word, but that's my insurance. So everybody's insurance was Madoff, and I'm not worried about gold or silver going anywhere. But with Madoff, everybody's like, oh, I'll just pull 20 grand out of Madoff to pay for my living expenses and this and that. But then when they went and they couldn't get it out, except for funny, he did call Jamie Dimon and say, hey, Jamie, I'm about to tell that it's a Ponzi scheme. So you better get your money out. You got a week. And so why is he calling JP Morgan to do that, right? So that's what happened. So people went to it and the well was dry. And by the way, you don't have any money. And that's what's happening with the banks in China. You can't get your money out. So this is why I say keep your money in a safe place. So you don't have to rely on the bank to give you money. Now in China, it's getting desperate because they can't use the money. So if they had $20,000 at home, they still couldn't use the money's not being allowed. The vendors can't take the money. So everybody's going with this digital money, or I don't know if it's crypto or what. That's the only way you can buy and sell. Now, how do you get it? I don't know. And then if you don't use it in time, they're turning it off. They say, well, you had a month, you didn't spend it, you lose it. So how do you earn this money? I don't. It's not money. How do you earn it? I don't know. Anyway, that's what's happening. So keep that in mind. So that's what's with COMEX. So what COMEX is saying is it works until people want the gold and silver. So as soon as the delivery is taken and they start taking the physical out of COMEX, they get Madoff. The game's over. So, but here COMEX collapses like Madoff collapses. So COMEX is based on these options selling and buying between the LBMA London and the US COMEX. They sell to each other and buy from each other, and they make money on it. But it's fixed because they know they're going to sell and they know they're going to buy. It's like, saying it. So it works until people ask for physical. And when people ask for physical, then you're in trouble. And that's what's happening now. People are asking for physical. It's just about drain, which will end COMEX. So it's funny when you see this crap going on today, where you see this little drop in gold and silver at noon. So silver's still 39.14, and it was 39.60, and gold's 33.84, where it's been 34. It just when I came on, it was 34.15. It was 34.30 all night. And then all of a sudden, here's this noon drop, which is just options being sold, which somebody will buy and ask for delivery. And I don't understand how they're doing this because there's no gold to deliver. And so the U.S. is saying, well, we won't play the game. We won't deliver That won't last because people will just tell them to fuck off, and nobody will buy the option, and the option will expire and go away, and the price will just go to a physical exchange where everybody will do it. So yeah, don't be too concerned with 33.84. I am expecting 35 soon. They're just delaying the inevitable. And silver, we can see, is 39.14. So it's holding up nicely. Anyway, so no, everybody wants physical gold because everybody's starting to realize the dollar's worthless. So people take their money and put it in the stock market, or they take their money and put it in Bitcoin, thinking it's going to be safe. That's why you see stocks way overvalued, and Bitcoin, we don't even know what it is, and it's way overvalued. So don't think Bitcoin's money, because it can't be, because it's not physical, it's not real, it's not backed by anything. So therefore, you have nothing. Um, so that's my point. Uh, so if that's the case, um, that's what the point is. It's it's not there. That's it. So um, people don't know what to do. They don't know to go into gold and silver. Then you see a day like today where gold goes down, and oh, look, gold's down. You don't want to buy gold. That's why they do it, because we're free, and you can't do anything to us. Not only do you not know we have it, but what are you going to do? That's why they want you in stable coin or Bitcoin, is they can control you with the ledger, because it shows you what you've done. And they can say, "Oh, I see you bought a bunch of shit. Oh, I want your money," or "You sold a bunch of shit. I want the money." They can see everything you do with stable coin and Bitcoin. Bitcoin, everybody thought was private and nobody knew what you were doing. That's what I heard. Oh, I can do whatever I want. Nobody knows. Well, yeah, they do. And because it's all CIA code, or Chinese, Russian mafia, Chinese mafia, that's who invented it. So they know what's going on, but you think you're getting away with something. With gold, nobody knows anything. I got my gold. You don't know I have it. You don't know if I go cash it in. I cash in an ounce. You don't know I got it. Now, maybe I get a check and I go to my bank and I say, yeah, I'd like to get this money out. Okay. But I really don't want to do too much of that, because I really don't want the money, right? If I get the money, what am I going to do with it? Then in China, they took the money and just said, no more money. You can't use it. You got to use digital. So that's my other problem. If you got 20 grand lying around the house and all of a sudden you can't use it and you're starving, but you got digital, I don't know. So that's why you got to stay out of the banks so they don't freeze it. There's control going on where you can't buy cigarettes, or you can't travel here. I don't agree with the reason, or whatever it is. Who knows? It's all bullshit. So that's why you buy gold and silver. It's freedom. It's hidden freedom, because they keep dicking around with the price to keep people out of it, and you don't know to get into it, or you don't understand it. The problem with most people is they don't understand what's going on. They've been kept away from the truth. I stumbled into an Austrian economics class, which is very rare, so I understand everything. Most people don't. So most people go, well, I don't want to buy gold. I'd rather be in stocks, or look at Bitcoin, because everybody's into immediate satisfaction. I can buy Bitcoin at 100,000 and it goes up to 110. I just made $10,000. Okay, try to sell it and get the money. Oh, it's now in my bank account. Okay, try to get the money. Well, we can't give you 110,000, sir. You can get 5,000 out of it. Well, wait, I got 110. Well, no, you don't. Then the bank closes down, or they go digital. You're fucked. Now, I don't know. Are they going to transfer your money into digital? I don't know. And if they do, how long do you have to use it? But what if I don't want to use it? That's why we save to do things later. I want to go fly to Russia. I got to wait for the war to end. But how long, I got this money, but wait a minute. Yeah, but I can't fly for 6 months. Oh, sorry, you don't have the money. You know, it's insanity. It's not economics. It's just, it doesn't work. There'll be a lot of black markets, I feel, because there has to be. Oh, you want to buy steak? You can't. No, that's bad for you. Cigarettes is bad for you. Oh, alcohol? No, you can't buy alcohol. That's bad for you. I mean, it's insanity. What they'll do. Um, how are we going to eat? So I see the gold and silver is what's going to save us. We'll take the silver to my barbecue place if he's still in business, because how he's going to pay for things, and then how are people going to pay in credits, and what's he going to do with the credits? Credits isn't money. This is Back to the Future too, when Biff hits the taxi driver with his thumbprint. So we got to give our thumbprints up now. Oh yeah, it's a world I really want to live into. So this is why all the billionaires left China 3 days before this happened, and they would go to Dubai, or they went to Canada, or Shanghai, or Singapore or Hong Kong or something. Pat, if you're listening, clue in what's going on in Singapore. Pat lives in Singapore. So I'm trying to figure out how to protect us. What do we do? Now, in the U.S., Trump says we won't have CBDCs, but we will have stable coins, which are the same thing, which will be controlling. But will they get rid of money? Now, I can understand going to this digital, like you went to Bitcoin. Fine, you can play with Bitcoin. I'm staying with gold, and I'm staying with the dollar. So I don't know. Are you really going to crash the dollar? How does the economy supposed to work without a medium of exchange? Remember, the most important thing with the medium of exchange is what everybody wants. Let me find that. So I have this thing what explains the medium of exchange. Adam Smith. Question is, where is it? Bear with me. Because we're going to a whole new thing, because it's always been what's wanted. That's why they used to do tulips. And so it used to be tulips in Holland. That was the money. And then, of course, there was a bad season and it ran out. So they had to go to something that wasn't weather related. That's why they went to money. They went to the dollar bill. Now, probably in my other notes. Hold on, I'll find it. All right, just a second. The point about money is it's what everybody wants. It's the most demanded thing. And where the hell is it? I know I have more notes than this. Where are my other notes? Are these my other notes? Sorry. It'll probably be the last page I look at. Apologize. High tariffs are a big problem. Price controls, all that shit. Very big problem. Oh, come on. Where's my notes to talk about money? Oh, my God. All right. I'll have to look for them, and I will report back later. Anyway, the whole point of money is it's what it's most demanded, meaning what everybody wants. So everybody wanted this. It has to be fungible, so it's replaceable. It has to be limited. That's why you have to have it as gold. You cannot have a central bank do it. And then you have to have it with you have to have it with it's got to be wanted and available everywhere. It's got to be wanted. It's the most wanted thing. So in other words, the Krogers and the other stores have to accept. It's got to be acceptable. That's what the word I was. So not everybody accepts Bitcoin. Not everybody's going to accept stablecoin. This is the way it works from Adam Smith in the 1700s, right? So therefore, you need to buy things. So what do you use to buy it? You need a medium of exchange. That's what it means. I exchange my dollar for cornflakes or for cupcakes or for steaks or for clothes. That's what you're doing. And I want to go work. Well, you're going to pay me to work. But what are you going to pay me with? So it ends up being the dollar. You're paying me in the dollar. You're paying me with that, and you're paying me for we're going to use dollars so I can get paid, and then I go buy stuff. And it's what everybody agrees on is the most what everybody wants. So now you're going to go to a stable coin, or what China's doing, which is a digital currency. But not everybody wants it. It won't work. It can't work. What's it backed by? Who knows? Is the Chinese crypto or stable coin or CBDC, whatever you're calling it, what's the value of it? Is it backed by gold, or is it backed by dollars, or is it not backed by anything? You can't just have something not backed by anything and have to think it's going to work. So here, if we come out with a stable coin, but does everybody want it? Will the vendors take it? Well, we're going to make the vendors take it. The barbecue places, you want to pay for your ribs, they're going to have to take stablecoin. Well, it doesn't work that way. It works. Will they take it? It's not the other way around. That's why socialism and communism doesn't work. The government can't force it. The market forces it. So they'll just go black market saying, well, if you give me an ounce of silver, I'll give you a slab of ribs. And he starts paying with silver for his shipments, his inventory. And that's what'll work. That's how it always works. That's where the black market, you watch these World War II movies, and the Gestapo was all black market. So they paid with other currencies. And that's what happens. So I don't understand. They're just going to come out with stable coins or CBDCs or whatever the hell each country comes up with. It's not going to work because people won't accept it. Okay, you're going to go to work. You make $100,000 and you go to work, and what's the new payment? Well, now you're getting paid in stable coins. How many stable coins does $100,000 equal? And all the prices you got a $500,000 house. Well, now it's in stable coins. Well, it's 100 stable coins, and you're like, what the fuck does that mean? So this is where it looks like we're headed, which will never work. They won't have value. They must have value. The paper must have backing. It must be gold backed. So BRICS is doing all that. They're coming out with the gold backed currency. I don't know what China's doing, why they're not doing a gold backed currency. but their currency's done. So China's toast. Russia's holding in there. They got their oil and they got the gold and the silver and the diamonds. Um, India's currency's broke. So all the currencies are broke. These are broke, but they'll need a new currency. And the currency, this is not backed by anything, needs to be backed by something. So that's where we're headed. That's why all the gold for BRICS, because they're going to come out with the currency backed by gold. That gives it value. When you do toilet paper that isn't backed by anything, you have no value. So that's why now it takes you $10 to buy McDonald's, right? And the restaurants are at a qualm because what do we charge? I went to Mongolian barbecue. That's what I was eating in the beginning. It's $18 for a bowl, and you get chicken, steak, and a bunch of veggies and stuff like that. And it's you give them a little bowl, and then they try to fill it into a big bowl to make it look like you got a lot. And that's what's happening. But how do they price it? Is $18. What is $18 worth? So $18 now is not worth a lot. $20 now is not worth a lot. And that this is the point. So I don't know what to say. I mean, that's the market has to value everything. The government can't. The government can't do price control. This is how we're trying to get out of our debt, 37 trillion, by crashing the dollar, making it worth nothing, and then coming out with stable coin, which will be worth nothing. Keep in mind, whatever they use for currency, if it is not backed by gold, it has no value. A Bitcoin has no value. Well, it's worth 110,000, Howard, or 115. No, it in dollars. Well, what's the dollar worth? Nothing. So what's the Bitcoin worth? Nothing. Luke keeps saying a Bitcoin's worth a Bitcoin, and I keep going, well, what does that mean? What's a Bitcoin? Well, it's worth $115,000. Okay, so that means it's not worth anything if the dollar has no value. And then the house, if you buy a house, you're going to pay $500,000 for a house right now, but what's the value of the house going to be because it's priced in dollars? It goes to zero. All the assets will go out when that does. Do we owe credit cards? I don't know. But our gold and silver will hold value. So will your Mantle and Brady cards. So will your Rolex watches and your fancy paintings and things that have value will keep having value if they're real assets. If there's supply and demand for them, they will hold their value. So that's all I can say about that. Are we going to do what China did and just one day you wake up and your money's useless? Don't know. I hope we get a warning, because if it's going to end tomorrow, I'm going to run to the gold store and go buy another 5 ounces, another 3 ounces of gold, because my money will be worthless anyway. I might as well get more gold. But then if I do get the gold and I got gold, so now I want to sell an ounce to get something. What am I going to get? Okay, give me what? Well, now you can't give me $3,900 because there's no dollars. So I'll have to use the gold. But what is the value of the gold? It's really getting confusing because we're dealing with a bunch of idiots. I've heard countless times these guys don't know what they're doing. And that's sad when it's like a CEO or a baseball or football coach or manager not knowing what he's doing, right? And you see it all the time in football and baseball where the coach is just clueless, or the manager. My favorite is when you pull a 300 hitter who's left-handed and then a lefty comes in to pitch and you pinch hit a 120 right, but he's right-handed. Yeah, but he's only faced lefties and he's hitting 120. Probably should be in the minor leagues or not, or go work at McDonald's or something. He's not a good baseball player if you can only hit 120. If you can't hit 200, you probably shouldn't be playing. You won't last long. And especially if you're only hitting like right-handed or left-handed pitch, you're not even hitting both. That's really a problem. So that's kind of what's going on in that. So you got to be careful. I'll try to update us as soon as I understand everything, which I don't. I understand the economics of it, but I don't understand what the hell we're doing. So we're doing tariffs to try to pay off the debt. Well, it's not working because you're right, making the cost for the producer goes up. So if China's making it, if they deal with the US, their cost, there's a tax on China to sell goods to the US. Okay, we just won't sell goods to the US. We'll sell it to Japan and we'll sell it to Hong Kong and Russia and India. We'll sell it to other places. We don't need to sell it to the US. We might have a lot of people, but China's got a lot more. They got they got about 800 million. They don't have a billion. That's just bullshit. That's just talk to look good, but they don't. And we have 350 million, but a lot of people are older. They're retiring. You've got all these immigrants that came in that don't have a penny because they don't have a skill set. How many can go clean a house and stuff like that? So it's very, very difficult. So again, remember, money has to be what everybody wants. It can't be what the government says. It's got to be what everybody wants. And right now, we want money in this form, but we want it backed by gold. That's what we want. All right, here's an Egon short. How borrowing trillions leads to crisis. Interesting.
Let's face it, the biggest borrower in the world, which is going to increase it by trillions every year. And just you wait until the banking system has major problems. And when you need massive support packages also from the Fed and from the US government, then, the borrowings or the deficits, whatever bucket they put that money will increase exponentially. And that's how you get higher inflation, higher interest rates, etc. Let's face it, the biggest borrower in the world, which is going to increase it by trillions every year. And just you wait until the banking system has major problems. And when you need massive support packages also from the Fed and from the US government, then, the borrowings or the deficits, whatever bucket they put that money will increase exponentially. And that's how you get higher inflation, higher interest rates, etc. Let's face it, the big...
Egon, that's not how you get higher inflation. You get higher inflation because you print money. Well, I guess maybe he means if the Fed has to print money to lend to you, that would lead to higher inflation. I think he knows that. You ever watch this Pepe Escolar? I don't know. He seems to think he knows everything, but I don't know. All right, let's see what I put in my like. So we saw this before, China's empty airport. So basically, all these flights in Shanghai and Beijing were canceled. Well, if they can't pay for it because they don't take money anymore, of course. So how do you buy a plane ticket? Which worries me because if I want to travel, how am I going to travel? So Egon tells you to keep your gold in different jurisdictions. So let's say I put half of it in Switzerland. Well, I got to be able to fly to Switzerland to get it. And if I can't get money and go on a trip, then I'm fucked. And that's what I'm worried about too, as well. I'll be kind of trapped. Yeah, you'll be able to go swimming at the club and go golfing, I guess. But I don't know what you're going to use for money. And I don't know, can you drive there or what's going on? This is a good piece on this is a Russian guy saying how the U.S. leaders are ignorant. That's we probably already know, so I'm not going to watch that. The dollar crash coming, we know because nobody wants it. Why does the dollar crash? It crashes when there's no demand. BRICS is all buying gold. Everybody would prefer gold over the dollar. Do you need to trade with the U.S. for anything? No, the only thing you want from the U.S. is they buy your oil or something. But what do we sell here? Ford and GM, maybe. We sell whatchamacallit? Microchips, chips. We sell 401ks and Bitcoin and Larry Fink running around selling ETFs and stuff. We don't make anything here. All our clothes and glass, everything comes from China or Vietnam or someplace. So we don't really sell. We buy, but our money is not worth it. So do you really care if there's sanctions? Well, I don't really want to trade with you anyway because your money's worthless. So it's collapsing because nobody wants it. Here's a thing on China's ghost towers. People are living in these buildings, their houses, and they're all collapsing. This is pretty funny.
They want $15K to fix the roof. Babe, we just paid off the car. We can't afford this right now.
The good news is we don't crack like the earth itself right now. We need to look at where these ghost towers came from. Born from greed, the rise of the ghost towers. It all begins in the 2010s, the decade China decides to build its future in concrete and steel. Real estate is booming. Developers race to the top with grand promises of luxury high-rises in every province, promising wealth for anyone who buys in. Giant billboards show families smiling from immaculate balconies, champagne glasses in hand. The messaging is simple. Real estate isn't just a home. It's the surest path to prosperity, and the middle class believes it. Every day, families start buying apartments before the first brick is even laid, a model known as off-plan sales. The idea is to get in early before prices rise. Buyers put down a deposit, take out loans, and wait. They're promised fast construction, booming cities, and a solid investment. Developers rake in the cash long before a single crane hits the skyline, and so begins a construction frenzy that reshapes China's cities. Places like Kangbashi, Zhengdong, and parts of Chengdu begin rising out of nowhere, not slowly, but with shocking speed. Entire city blocks emerge in under a year, but something's off. The buildings are tall, but the lights stay off. No cars in the parking lots, no furniture on the balconies, no children playing outside. These aren't cities, they're shells. Ghost cities, ghost towers, silent, empty, and eerily still. The truth behind the boom is darker than anyone expected. The demand? It's inflated, in some cases completely fabricated. Developers overpromise, oversell, and overextend. Some run out of money halfway through a project. Others go bankrupt or flee, leaving behind towering husks of rebar and dust. Construction sites freeze, cranes sit still, promises vanish. And by 2021, China finds itself with a chilling statistic: over 50 million empty apartments. Many are unfinished, some are missing key structural elements. Others have no water, no power, no permits. Take Xi'an, for example. On the city's edge, a mega project of 40 residential towers sits frozen in time. It was once advertised as a future paradise: pools, gyms, rooftop gardens. Units were sold years ago, but the dream never arrived. The elevators were never installed. The stairwell stopped at the 20th floor. Power lines dangle like vine. Residents who drive past now call it the concrete graveyard. It's one of hundreds like it across the country, monuments not to ambition, but to greed. These towers, these empty ghosts of promised futures, should have remained uninhabited. But reality hits hard for families who invested everything and received nothing. As rents rise and inflation eats through savings, people begin to move in anyway, illegally, quietly, dangerously. They carry mattresses up half-built staircases. They light rooms with candles. They patch windows with cardboard. They call these places home, not because they want to, but because there's no other choice. And that's when things start to unravel. But the real nightmare begins when the concrete starts to crack, and people are already living inside. The first collapse, no warning, no escape. It's the early hours of July 17th, 2025, on the outskirts of Xi'an. The sky is still dim, the city just beginning to stir. Inside Tower 11, one of the many unfinished high-rises that line the district, families are waking up to another uncertain day. Some are boiling water on gas stoves. Others are getting ready for work, brushing their teeth using bottled water. Children peek through cracked windows. The building isn't supposed to be occupied, but it's alive. Then it happens. A sound, low and unfamiliar, cuts through the quiet, a deep groaning crack like the earth itself letting out a warning. It seems to come from the walls or maybe the floor. No one's quite sure. And then the building shudders, the lights flicker, then go out completely. Pipes burst somewhere below. Water begins leaking through the ceiling. In a matter of seconds, routine turns into terror. Panic takes hold. Some residents sprint for the stairwells, only to find chunks of concrete already blocking the exits. Others bang on doors, screaming for their neighbors to get out.
It sounds like a short story. I don't really like it, but basically the buildings are collapsing, supposedly. This is what I don't like about AI. Don't give me a whole like storybook. Just buildings are collapsing. Okay. Here's one on how the digital yuan is compulsory.
How Gen X are getting their teenage bodies back. So this is my mom and this is my grandma. I recently
Don't get arrested. You just stop existing. The digital yuan is no longer optional. Every citizen in China now faces the same ultimatum. Convert your life savings or lose access entirely. Bank accounts are freezing, and cash is being locked out of the system. All financial roads now lead through Beijing's central digital wallet, and the deadline is ticking down fast. Why is the Chinese government forcing 1.4 billion people into a currency they cannot control? What happens to those who refuse or simply miss the deadline? And could this be a glimpse into the future for the rest of the world? It all begins with a simple push notification, one that turns into a national reckoning. The text that changed everything. It's Monday morning, July 14th, 2025. The sun is barely up when the first wave of push notifications lights up phones across China. People are sipping tea, checking news, and scrolling through weather apps. But tucked between birthday reminders and grocery coupons is something different. A quiet ping, a blinking red banner at the top of every major banking app. It reads, "Action required. Your account must be converted to digital yuan, ECNY, before July 26. Physical RMB will be inaccessible after this date." No explanation.
Okay, so it looks like you can change your dollars over. So if you got money in your safe, you get this, it looks like you have a couple of weeks, put it in the bank and switch it to digital. So that's what they're going to use is that. So then if you get gold, I would imagine you get paid in digital money and you can take the gold to the bank and add it to your account to go use it. So that answers those questions. So it sounded like they just woke up and you can't use money anymore. Well, I got the same narrator who I really don't like. She doesn't make it sound like it's real or just has a terrible voice. That's not believable. Let's see if I can get one without this builder. Yeah, she's doing a lot of this Chinese. So I'm wondering if this is real or not. China's citywide cash things. Let's look at this one here for brics. This one I don't like either because this Times of India doesn't. It doesn't. They don't talk. They just show things, which is really hard. Forget gold compensation. We watched this yesterday. We'll say it again with Egon.
We experienced the 70s. There's no reason for interest rates not to go up to those levels with the massive demand there is now for money, especially from Western governments. But coming back to gold and potential confiscation, I don't see the risk of that. I mean, it was very different in the early 30s when gold was backing the dollar. Now gold isn't backing anything. And, gold, as today, it's 0.5% of world financial assets. Now, in this massive revaluation of gold, might go to 5% or 7%, or even 10%. But it's still only 10% of global financial assets. And it would be better to confiscate property or bank deposits or any other major area where I actually get a lot more money. What I think was going to happen is that they will force investors through the banks, the people who have money in the banks or assets at the banks, they will be forced to buy US treasuries up to a certain amount of their assets, and probably also 100-year treasuries at very nominal interest rates. They're not going to get market interest rates either.
Well, I think there's a big shock coming for all G7 nations. They destroy their currencies. Central bankers around the world and in Asia, they're looking at this.
So Mark McGuire or Alligator's doing Britain's coming bankruptcy. So all of them are, you can't print and print and print and not go bankrupt. That's why you must back your money by gold. That's why BRICS understood this, and they're all buying gold. So their regular currency, like the rupee or the yuan or the yen or any of these currencies, are all worthless. But that's why they have the gold, and then they come out with the currency backed by gold, and that's what keeps the value. So we will see. We'll see what Switzerland does. They're not in BRICS, so I'm curious there. All of Europe is fucked because they're all in the euro, which is worthless. They're all trying to say, well, yeah, the euro will be the new central bank current or the new reserve currency. No, you don't need a reserve currency, number one. And I don't think you have it. I think the only thing that can be the reserve currency is gold. And so the value of gold is going to go up tremendously. We know that. That's why it's hard to watch these little daily, oh, it's a $20 down, and take it really seriously when we know the true value is 10 times higher. So we're just kind of waiting for that to happen. And the same thing with silver. We just see what's silver's just starting, but silver will be at least 1,000 an ounce and probably more, because gold will get too expensive and silver's money just as gold is, and people will get into silver. So that's what's happening. So what else do we have? Trump with his tariffs. Here's an Egon on, or let's do this one. I was doing one on Ford helping the Nazis. That seems interesting. A little different flavor.
When you think of Ford cars, you probably first imagine reliable vehicles taking families on Sunday drives, assembly line workers commuting to better lives, or teenagers gaining their first taste of independence behind the wheel. Indeed, the Ford story we know is fundamentally optimistic, proof that American ingenuity can transform raw materials into prosperity, that good ideas properly executed can improve millions of lives. In school, we celebrated Henry Ford as the prophet of mass production, the visionary who understood that paying workers well created customers for his products, the businessman who thought globally before globalization existed. Yet there exists another Ford story, one so dark and thoroughly documented that its very existence seems impossible to reconcile with the cheerful corporate image. Indeed, this is a tale of medals and money, of factories and fascism, of profits extracted from human misery on an industrial scale. In today's episode of Old Money Luxury, we expose how America's most famous industrialist became one of history's most influential hate merchants, and why his company's darkest chapter remains carefully airbrushed from corporate memory. The offices of the Dearborn Independent hummed with activity in 1920, as Henry Ford transformed a sleepy Michigan newspaper into America's second largest weekly publication, with a circulation that would reach 700,000 by 1925. Ford had purchased this small-town paper in 1919, envisioning a platform where his views could reach the American public without media filters or editorial interference. What emerged instead was something far darker: the most sustained published attack on Jews in American history, a campaign of hatred that would run for 91 consecutive weeks and inspire the worst genocide humanity has ever witnessed. Every Saturday morning, Americans opened their newspapers to find Ford's latest diatribe, blaming Jews for an astonishing array of societal ills: World War I, jazz music, Hollywood's supposed moral decay, labor unrest, and international banking conspiracies that allegedly controlled governments. The distribution system was ingenious in its malevolence. Ford forced every dealership nationwide to distribute copies as a condition of selling his automobiles, creating a propaganda network that penetrated every American community from major cities to rural farmlands. His anti-Semitic articles were eventually compiled into The International Jew, the World's Foremost Problem, translated into German, Spanish, Portuguese, and 16 other languages, spreading Ford's poison globally. In Munich, a struggling Austrian artist named Adolf Hitler devoured Ford's writings with growing excitement, finding validation for his racial obsessions and a practical blueprint for transforming hatred into political power. Hitler's 1925 autobiography, Mein Kampf, would praise only one American by name, Henry Ford, whom he lauded as courageously standing against Jewish influence. Court documents revealed an extraordinary detail. Ford's portrait already hung in Hitler's modest Munich office as daily inspiration. Even more damning, Ford's German distributors were secretly funneling money to Hitler's Nazi party when it was still a fringe movement, struggling to pay for meeting halls and propaganda. The psychological roots of Ford's hatred traced back to defining childhood trauma. His beloved mother Mary died when he was 12, leaving him emotionally devastated and searching for simple explanations to life's cruel complexities. This untutored mind found disturbing comfort in conspiracy theories that blamed one group for all problems rather than confronting modern life's messy realities.
I'm confused. Is this Ford or Hitler? It's actually Ford, but I thought it was Hitler. So Ford's crazy, and he blames the Jews, and Hitler reads it and says, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll blame the Jews too. Ford goes on to make cars for Hitler. Something's wrong here where you're helping the enemy, not only helping, you're working with the enemy. That'd be like, working, I don't know, working for Iran against Israel, or working for, I would say Russia, but I don't think Russia's in the wrong here. It's just crazy what this guy's doing. And then how do we not know it? I mean, who the hell would be buying a Ford right now? Yeah, they helped Hitler. Oh, yeah, let me run and buy a Ford. And then he's driving it around. You got to be kidding. So what, do you hate Jews, or you just love Hitler, or you love Hitler, you love Ford? What's going on here that you're driving a Ford? That's the symbol of that. So this is absolutely nuts. Let's get into some more. The birthday gifts for the Fuhrer. We got to watch that.
First, we offer overnight boarding. Your pet will stay overnight in your sitter's home and not only be treated like part of the family.
Fritz Heiler, German vice consul in Detroit, carried a special package through the gleaming corridors of Ford Motor Company's Dearborn headquarters on the afternoon of July 30th, 1938, knowing he bore a gift that would forever link American industry to Nazi Germany. Inside the elegant presentation case, the Grand Cross of the German Eagle, a golden medallion suspended from a blood-red ribbon, accompanied by Adolf Hitler's personal congratulations for Henry Ford on the occasion of his 75th birthday. Hitler had established this Order of Merit specifically to honor foreign allies of the Nazi regime who had proven their value to the Third Reich's cause. Ford became the first American recipient of this dubious honor, joining an exclusive club that previously contained only Benito Mussolini, the founder of Italian fascism, who had destroyed Italian democracy. The medal ceremony unfolded not in shadowy secrecy, but as a public celebration, with photographers eagerly capturing every moment as Ford pinned the Nazi medal to his chest without hesitation or visible shame. Both American and German media extensively covered this extraordinary event, with the film Beobachter, Nazi Germany's official propaganda organ, devoting a full page to celebrating Ford as a true hero of the German people. This medal represented far more than diplomatic courtesy. It was the culmination of decades of mutual admiration between the American industrialist who had revolutionized manufacturing and the Austrian corporal who would revolutionize mass murder. Hitler had studied Ford's autobiography, My Life and Work, with religious devotion while imprisoned in Landsberg Castle, finding blueprints for both industrial efficiency and ideological warfare. The book had been smuggled into Hitler's cell by Rudolf Hess, and the future Führer spent hours annotating its pages, seeing parallels between Ford's assembly line methods and his vision for organizing society along racial lines. Nazi engineers were already dissecting Ford's production methods with scientific precision, most notably Ferdinand Porsche, who made pilgrimages to Ford's River Rouge plant in 1936 and again in 1937. Porsche's reconnaissance team actively recruited a dozen of Ford's best engineers, offering lucrative contracts to bring American manufacturing expertise directly to Nazi Germany. Hitler's obsession with creating a Volkswagen, literally a people's car, explicitly copied Ford's Model T concept, aiming to provide ordinary Germans with affordable automobiles, just as Ford had motorized America's middle class. Heinrich Himmler, the SS chief who would orchestrate the Holocaust's logistics, had written admiringly in 1924 that Ford was one of our most valuable, important, and witty fighters in the eternal struggle against Jewish influence. Ford's German subsidiary, Ford Werk in Cologne, operated under Robert Schmidt, who had earned the prestigious Nazi title of Wehrwirtschaftsführer, military economic leader, marking him as essential to war preparations. By 1939, as Europe teetered on catastrophe, Ford Germany contributed 35,000 marks to Hitler's lavish 50th birthday celebration. Court documents would later allege that Henry Ford himself sent annual birthday gifts of 50,000 marks directly to Hitler, though Ford Motor Company's lawyers would vigorously dispute these claims. Schmidt expertly positioned Ford Werke as indispensable to Nazi military planning, preparing the subsidiary for the profitable war that every informed observer could see approaching. The medal ceremony marked more than diplomatic recognition. It sealed an ideological partnership between American capitalism's most famous name and Nazi totalitarianism's most evil regime. 3 years later, Ford's gleaming Cologne factories would produce military trucks using concentration camp slaves, while the crematoriums burned day and night. But the golden medal would remain among Henry's treasured possessions.
Join our free live Pilates classes on YouTube. My name is Rachel.
Elsa Iwanova was 16 years old when Nazi soldiers burst through her family's door in Belgium, beginning a journey that would lead her to the gates of Ford's Cologne factory and into a nightmare of industrial slavery. By 1943, she represented exactly half of Ford Werke's workforce, not employees earning wages, but slaves, unpaid and slowly starving while assembling military trucks for the Wehrmacht that would carry German soldiers to kill Allied troops. The transformation of Ford's German subsidiary from a commercial enterprise into a Holocaust profiteer had been gradual but deliberate, with each moral compromise leading inexorably deeper into complicity with genocide. Over 10,000 men, women and children from Poland, Russia, Italy, Belgium and France would pass through Ford Werk's gates as forced laborers, their names erased and replaced with numbers in production reports. Documents discovered in Nazi archives listed Ford Motor Company among nearly 500 corporations, with direct operational links to the Auschwitz death camp complex.
Just amazing, isn't it?
Death or transfer to concentration camps. Jewish attorney Aaron Sapiro opened his morning newspaper in 1925 to find Henry Ford's Dearborn Independent accusing him of orchestrating an international conspiracy to control American agriculture through Jewish cooperatives. The libel was so outrageous and the accusations so specifically damaging to Sapiro's professional reputation that he filed $1 million lawsuit that would finally drag Ford's anti-Semitic empire into the harsh light of legal scrutiny. For 2 long years, Ford's team of high-priced lawyers stalled with endless procedural motions and technical objections, desperate to avoid a trial that would put their clients' pathological hatred under oath and on public record. When the case finally came to trial in a Detroit federal courthouse in 1927, it quickly transformed into a disaster for Ford, as witness after witness revealed the deliberate fabrication of anti-Semitic stories and the malicious invention of Jewish conspiracies. Ford's response to this mounting catastrophe shocked even his own attorneys. He secretly engineered a mistrial by having a detective approach juror Cora Hoffman with suspicious questions about the case's progress and outcome. The jury tampering was so blatantly obvious that it guaranteed a new trial would be ordered, but Ford had successfully bought himself precious time to execute a completely different escape route from accountability. Through carefully chosen intermediaries, Ford reached out to Louis Marshall, the distinguished president of the American Jewish Committee, proposing to end his entire anti-Semitic campaign in exchange for Shapiro dropping all charges. Marshall, desperately hoping to halt the weekly flow of hatred that was poisoning American society and inspiring anti-Semites worldwide, drafted a comprehensive apology statement for Ford's signature. On June 30th, 1927, Ford released this remarkable statement, claiming complete and total ignorance of the Dearborn Independent's anti-Semitic content throughout 7 years of continuous publication. He professed utter shock at discovering what his newspaper had been printing week after week, blamed unnamed subordinates for the offensive articles, and solemnly promised to withdraw the International Jew from circulation immediately. The statement portrayed Ford as an absentee publisher who somehow never read his own newspaper, never attended editorial meetings, and never knew what filled the pages of his second largest circulation weekly in America. This fiction was immediately contradicted by sworn testimony from multiple employees who described Ford's direct involvement in planning anti-Semitic campaigns and his personal enthusiasm for the paper's anti-Jewish crusade. Ford agreed to shutter the Dearborn Independent permanently and pay Shapiro an undisclosed settlement rumored to be substantial, essentially attempting to purchase absolution with the same money earned from spreading hate. Jewish leaders, exhausted by years of combating Ford's propaganda, accepted the apology while harboring deep private doubts about its sincerity. They prioritized ending the weekly attacks over extracting genuine contrition from an unrepentant bigot. Those doubts proved entirely justified as Ford continued expressing anti-Semitic views in private conversations.
So basically, Ford's a scumbag, as we know. I don't know anybody that would buy a Ford, and I will never work there again. I didn't know this until I stumbled on this. I had worked at Ford on a contract a couple times. I won't do it again. There's plenty of companies out there, and Ford will be out of business soon. I would stop rooting for the Detroit Lions, who are run by Ford. This is a bad person, obviously. Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Well, good afternoon. How's Lakeland, Florida treating you? I hope you're well. Welcome to the class. Please feel free to ask questions or comments. That's why I do a live class, so I can help people who do that. Anyway, that's Ford. So he was a Nazi. Hitler looked up to him. He built cars for Hitler. The engineers worked for Germany. You wonder how the German made the cars, right? And then that led to like some of the German cars, probably with Ford engineers. And he had a factory in Cologne to make cars and tanks and stuff for Germany, for the Nazis. So terrible. One thing I want to show you on George Soros about Putin. I'm going to have to call that number back.
Worry about theft of your mail and packages? Wouldn't it be great if you could...
67% before she took office, while she permanently stopped prosecuting drug possession, prostitution, and trespassing. St. Louis became a prosecutor. Vladimir Putin signed the order personally in November 2015.
This is George Soros.
Declaring Open Society Foundations an enemy of the Russian state and warning that any citizen caught working with Soros faced 6 years in prison. The designation as an undesirable organization came with language that would have seemed hyperbolic if it weren't in an official government document. Soros represented a threat to the foundations of the constitutional system itself. Russia had fired the opening shot in what became a global governmental revolt against one billionaire family's influence, setting a precedent that would spread across continents as nations recognized a common threat. In Hungary, where Soros had spent millions promoting democracy after communism's fall, Viktor Orban transformed him into a national boogeyman through the most expensive propaganda campaign in the country's history. Billboards across Budapest displayed Soros's smiling face with ominous warnings about his plan, while the tagline, "Don't let Soros have the last laugh," screamed from every street corner and subway station. The government spent millions convincing Hungarians that this son of Budapest wanted to Muslimize Europe through forced migration, tapping into primal fears about cultural extinction that resonated across the continent. Parliament passed emergency legislation literally titled the Stop Soros Package, making it illegal for NGOs to assist migrants in ways that Soros-funded organizations had pioneered, essentially criminalizing humanitarian work. The pressure became so intense that Open Society foundations fled Budapest for Berlin in 2018, marking the extraordinary moment when an organization built to promote Hungarian democracy was effectively exiled from Hungary itself. Pakistan ordered all Soros operations shut down in December 2017 without public explanation, while Belarus had earlier fined his foundations $3 million before expelling them completely. From Kazakhstan to Turkmenistan, governments banned his pro-democracy initiatives as subversive threats to national sovereignty, creating an unprecedented global consensus against a private citizen's influence operations. India placed Open Society on a government watch list, requiring pre-approval for every rupee of funding, effectively neutering the organization's ability to operate in the world's largest democracy. The pattern was unmistakable.
So the point is, Soros was this bad guy. Putin has gone after him since 2014. And now we wonder why there's a war from the West against Putin. Who do you think's leading it? Soros. That's why this war is not ending. And Putin's got to get to the point he's just going to destroy Ukraine. But he doesn't go after the people. He goes after the supply and buildings for the military and stuff like that. So he's not really, he might hit a railroad, but he's not going after, regular people in schools and just blowing up to blow up. He's not doing that because he looks at everybody as a Russian citizen. But now we won't know why the war is going on, because Soros, who runs the U.S. and he runs Britain and he runs most of these NATO countries, is the reason for the war. So now you have a better understanding of who's behind the curtain, because Trump certainly isn't. He keeps giving him arms. Well, he said, I'm going to end the war in a day and I'm not going to give him arms. And yet he's still giving him arms. He's not ending the war because Soros, who Scott Bassett is a Soros guy. He worked for Soros. This is the guy you make Secretary of the Treasury, and he's an idiot. So, this is just bizarre. The Soros, Ford, all these morons. What the fuck are they doing? So I watch this guy. I'm trying to figure out if he's any good. You'll own tokens, not assets. I don't want to get into this right now until I know more about it. I don't like showing things that I don't know, but that's what China did, right? You couldn't use paper money anymore. You had to use tokens or stable coins or whatever they're calling their digital currency. But then you're getting problem. Oh, I want to take a train over here to visit my mother. No, not a good reason you're not allowed to use it. Now they're communists. They have gold, so I don't know why people aren't going to their bank accounts and pulling their gold out, or maybe that's what they're doing. But this is a problem. So again, the dollar is what makes everything drive. You have to have a medium of exchange, and it can't just be digital. It's got to be what everybody wants, or it will not work. It has to be backed by something. You got to back it by gold and silver. You cannot just say, I have this new money and take it, like it or leave it, and it isn't backed by anything. It'll last a month or two. And then people will get tired of, what do you mean I can't go golfing? Yeah, no, you spent too much on golf right now. This is America. I can do what I want. That's the point of America. We are not communists, but with George Soros trying to run it, then there is a problem. So we have to see how this develops. I would not hold a lot of money in the bank, but it looks like you'll have a week or two to exchange your money into these digital stable coins or whatever the hell we're doing here. I don't know. We'll have to see how and what we do with our gold. Again, it's going to be worth the most. What do we do with it? So just at this point, hang tight with it. The gold and the silver, we'll have to figure it out. Can we fly? Can we fly to Switzerland and cash it in if we need to? good question. Because with the stable coins or digital money, they're going to say yes or no. You can do this or you can't do that. I want to go fly to Switzerland. No, I'm not going to let you. That's what I'm concerned about. Or I want to go to Russia. I can't go. Well, it doesn't make sense. This is the problem I'm going to have. And this is things you shouldn't be worrying about. Why are we worrying about this? This is ridiculous. So not really sure what's going on because there's not a lot of description. China, there's nobody to ask questions to. They don't know what to do, and everybody got to eat. I don't know, how are you going to pay? How are we going to pay our mortgage and our credit cards? What are we going to use? Oh, I'm going to use my, but how much is a credit? I mean, is a credit equal to $1? Then you haven't done anything. You're just taking it out of paper and put it into debit cards and credit cards, I guess. I love how they use the speed. I don't know. What is the problem? I use I go to the gas station and I use my credit card. It takes all of 2 seconds to process. And I'm okay, go ahead, and I buy my gas. So I don't really understand how slow it is. And I really don't understand the point of the digital, I really don't understand the point of how much quicker the blockchain is, or the digital or stable coin or things like that. Well, it's faster. I really don't see the taking more than about 5 seconds at the grocery store, at the restaurant. Here it is, boom, 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 and there it goes. I really don't see that. Yeah, there's probably a little more expense, but we don't, we really don't see it, so we don't really care about it. It's not that much. So I don't know what is coming. I can see what China did. No more dollars. You got to use digital. So we'll keep an eye on that. I mean, I think something like that's coming here. But again, I don't know that we won't be able to use money. I think it'll be like Bitcoin, where we'll have the option. This is a republic. This is not a communist country. We are built on freedom. So therefore, you can't just take our freedoms away. We're not going to just sit there. What do you mean we can't use money? Well, how's the grocery store going to survive if we can't pay them in money, or we pay them in stable coin? Well, what's stable coin worth? Oh, same as money. Then what's the difference? Going to barbecue, how are we going to pay for that? So this is going to be, you're going to have to change the price on everything, which is what we're thinking anyway, but that should be a gold-backed currency. Now everybody tells me Trump's a gold guy, and Judy Shelton's a gold guy, and Scott Simpson's a gold guy, and I haven't heard that Soros is a gold guy. I know Buffet's not a gold guy. So different, so what does that mean? So we got an ounce of gold. What's the value of it? Well, if there's no dollars to value it in, then gold becomes the dollar. Gold becomes the value. So an ounce of gold equals something. I go to the grocery store, I'll use an ounce of silver. I'm not going to use the digital money. So this will be very interesting because they'll have to reprice everything. Anyway, so let's look at our baseball. Again, Pitt's already gone over 9, KC under 10, Minnesota over 9, Cleveland, Philly over 8.5, the Yanks under 8.5, and Tampa Bay over 9 are the picks. There's a lot of early games. I believe the Pitt game was, and probably Kansas City. Nothing really new in football. This whole prime junior contract, I'll take it, but you're going to pay me for my social hits? Cleveland agreed to that? What, are they out of their minds? He's not a good quarterback. Oh, he brings in somebody and he's hitting targets from 40 yards away. That doesn't mean anything. It's when the pressure's on, when they're blitzing you, and you got to hit your guy. And you're wearing shoulder pads. You're not in shorts. That's a whole different ball game than standing there in your shirts hitting a quarter or a paper plate or whatever 30 yards away. So we don't doubt you're accurate. What we do doubt is how you handle the pressure, how you read a defense, how you read a zone and a blitz, and what do you do about it before the ball's hiked? And that's where he's lost. So I don't know, but I read that and I'm like, so everybody's going to go on his Twitter and like his things and view it, and he's going to get paid for that. Are you kidding me? That's just ridiculous. Let's see. I think that's it on the videos. Let's see what gold's doing. 33.88 and silver 39.19. So silver staying above the 39. We've had this hit at 12 o'clock, and then you see it's just phony. Then it start to be bought back. So gold will be, once China gets it, it'll be back over 3,400. Again, it was 34.30. Again, we're having a problem getting up and over 3,500. There's a lot of resistance, which is just options. It's not resistance. It's not real resistance. It's not people don't want it or people are selling. Nobody is selling an ounce of gold. This is all done by options. This is all done by trading places. Eddie Murphy saying, I'm selling my contract, and that makes the price go up and down. That is not, that's bullshit. That is not how you develop a price. You develop a price by, I got my Canadian club. I want to sell it for $50, and there's a buyer for it. It's got to be physical. It's got to be sold and bought by a real person, not a contract. So this gold is just bullshit. 33.88. It's probably 10 times more. Silver, we're trying to, here we go, 39.19. We got to, let's get it over 40 and let it run. And gold at 33.88 should be 4,000 by now. It's headed there. Let's see what the stocks are doing today. They'll be up. God knows why. Yeah, the stock market's 44,900, up 400. Why would anybody be buying stock? See, I think part of this is the 401ks that people are in, where they're sitting there going, I'm in a 401k, so I'm going to, so I buy stocks and the company matches it. And then probably once a month, it goes to the broker, JP Morgan or Morgan or Lynch, whatever, Morgan. And they go and buy the stocks as per se by what the people chose. So I think that's demand that's always there because people are buying, their 401, they're in their 401ks and it's getting matched. And that has to go into the market. So they're getting that every month. But a lot of it is there's 40 trillion from the foreign world, Japan, China, Germany, England, Russia, who are buying stocks, who are going to pull their stocks. The dollar's collapse. It has no value because nobody wants it. Everybody, however, does want the gold-backed currency that BRICS has, and everybody in BRICS is buying gold. They're not buying dollars. So it's just buying gold, no dollar, no demand, all this dollar coming back from petrodollar, from the FX, where everybody needed to buy dollars to make international trades, from China buying India. You needed to sell the Chinese to buy dollars to sell the dollars to buy the Indian. Now that's gone. They're not. So there's a lot of dollars coming home. There's a lot of petrodollar. Saudi Arabia will take renminbi or yuan or yen or whatever that you can pay them, and they just. But again, even that's fake because the FX rate is just bullshit. Like if you go, well, let's say it's 90 cents for the euro. That's just bullshit. That's a make believe number. Oh, the pound's 79 cents. It's bullshit. The ruble, 78 cents, $78. It's bullshit. It's just pulled out of thin air. There's no supply and demand. Once you take supply and demand out of things, they're just fantasy. They're just controlled. They're price fixing. And that's what we have in COMEX. And that's why I say, obviously, why would gold go down $20 at noon? Well, JP Morgan sold 10 tons of gold. Well, no, that didn't happen. Nobody would be that stupid to sell tons of gold at this point. They're all buying and buying and buying. So when you see it drop, it's bullshit. It's price fixed. So keep that in mind. That's what's happening. Do not get worried. Oh my God, gold's going down. Gold ain't going down. Gold can only go up because the demand's huge for gold. Everybody's buying it. When you got huge demand, price has to go up. If I got 1,000 people wanting my bottle of Canadian Club, I'm raising the price. It's not high enough. And you can see it on eBay. You see a Montana rookie card, 110,000, because of the demand. Everybody wants a PSA 10, Joe Montana rookie or Jerry Rice rookie, and it's up to 110,000 because there's demand for the card because it's limited. And it's Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. And that's the difference. I know the Montana rookie was very hard to get centered. I looked and looked and looked. Mine's pretty damn close, probably 60-40, but it's in beautiful shape. But again, it's because it was so hard to get centered. That's why there's so few 10s. That's why the price is high. Plus, it's demand because it's Joe Montana's rookie. That's the other key to it. So again, limited supply, high demand, high price. Rolexes, limited supply. These paintings, Van Gogh, and my buddy here, Picasso, huge demand, limited supply. That spells, that's it. That makes you rich because there's not enough to go around. And that's why gold's so good. There's not enough gold to go around. But all these countries want it because they're joining BRICS and they want to have a gold-backed currency because they understand every country that's not had a gold-backed currency has gone under. And we're right there. The U.S. is right there. Yeah, we have the $37 trillion debt. So we're going to what? Print our money to zero and not pay the debt off? We'll never get another loan. I don't understand how that makes no sense to me. So in other words, what you're saying is we'll print it off. We'll print the money. We'll inflate our money away. What does that mean? So you print it so it has no value. So what does that mean? You don't owe 37 trillion anymore? In that money you don't, but as soon as you come up with new money, you do again. It's not going to just go away. It'll just switch money. Sort of like your mortgage. You owe $300,000 on your house in this money, in monopoly money. So the monopoly money goes to zero. Theoretically, you don't owe anything on your house is paid off. Your house has no value because this has no value. That's what I keep saying with Bitcoin. It'll have no value until you come up with a new currency and then things get translated. So now your $300,000 house, if it's gold-backed currency, is probably worth $50,000 at most in gold. Now an ounce of gold's probably worth, well, I don't even know if you can value it, 25, 30,000 an ounce if you could value it, which I'm not sure. And then we would see, but it'll get valued in gold. Oh, 2 ounces of gold buys the $500,000 monopoly money house. So maybe they pay for the debt with gold. That would be the only thing that makes sense because that's the only other money you can use. So you owe 37 trillion, your dollar's worthless. The debt goes to zero, but everybody wants their debt. Now you come out with a gold-backed currency. You make gold $100,000, but you don't have dollars. So I don't know what just gold's worth 100,000 golds or whatever you're going to call it. You don't have this to price the gold anymore. This is gone, but I got gold. I got a Picasso. I got a Montana record. What are they worth? And that's where you need a new one. And this isn't the first. The euro, this is new. That before the euro, everybody had their own. The French franc, the German Deutschmark, Italy had the lira, and then so they all bankrupt, and then they all went to the euro. So that's why the euro is worth more than the dollar makes no sense to me. So again, that's George Soros doing his bullshit thing. So again, things won't be priced in dollars because there won't be a dollar to price them. There'll have to be a new currency to price everything. And that's what a market is. A market determines the price. And that's why you don't fuck with the currency, the medium of exchange. You can't bankrupt it. You don't print this to death as a way out of my debt. Well, I just won't. There's no currency, so I don't owe you anymore. It doesn't work because you have to have a currency. You have to get paid to go to work, and you have to pay for groceries and mortgage and clothes and doctors and everything else. You need something to pay for all that. So you have to have currency. You cannot avoid it. You can't have digital shit or a stable coin or a digital yuan in China. You can't. It has to have a rhyme or reason, and that's the point. And it has to be what's most demanded. So this will be interesting what's going on. But the more gold and silver you have, the better off you are. And again, think of it as this alternative. You can either stay in dollars that are worth nothing. They're bankrupting it, remember, or you trade your dollars into gold and silver. And that's really your thought is I'm getting out of the dollar and the only safe thing is gold and silver that the government can't control. They're trying to control it on COMEX, but China and Russia have different ideas about not letting it get controlled because they're coming out with their gold, physical gold prices. I never understood why COMEX was pricing physical gold. You want to do paper gold and options, fine, but not. I got physical gold. I'm not looking at those prices. Those prices are fantasy prices. So that's really where you're at. You're coming out. The gold will have to go up, but you're not supposed to. The system works fine as long as you don't destroy the dollar, right? Oh, I get paid in dollars. I go to the store, I use my dollars. This is the common, this is the exchange. That's why it's the medium, but you don't shoot the goose that lays the golden eggs. You keep the goose nice and fat. And that's what they're doing. Oh, well, destroy the dollar. That'll get rid of all our debt. No, it won't do anything. You'll need another dollar and everything will get transferred to that price. Now we'll see what happens with the banks. Are the banks going to let this happen? The banks are just going to walk away. Yeah, geez, you know what? I guess that's it. They're not going to let it happen. The banks loan out money. They got to loan it out. Now in China, it's different because the government runs everything. Here, the banks run everything. Don't forget that. The mafia run the banks run the government. So the banks aren't going to kill themselves. They're not going to shoot themselves and say no more money when that's what a bank lives on, loaning out the money and taking the money and taking the deposits. So I don't see the banks allowing that here because the banks do not control China. The communist government does. So I think that's what it is. But we will see. And again, we're the supposedly reserve currency, which it's not needed now. Gold is your reserve currency. So how much is your gold going to go up? And then how are we going to use the gold to buy whatever this new currency is? But avoid the digital if possible. If given the choice, do not buy Bitcoin, do not buy stablecoin. Keep it in whatever the dollar will be. Because digitally you get fucked. All of a sudden you can't go golfing, you can't go to Chinese food, you can't take a train, you can't fly anywhere. What's going on here? And that's where we're all scared of that. But I mean, I'm hoping. Now, Trump said no CBDCs. So the question will be these stable coins, which will get all your information on a platform and we'll have to go from there. Anyway, that's all I got. Questions, comments? I'll leave you with let's see if gold got back to 3,400. $33.90 gold, $39.20 silver. So silver will move about 6 o'clock. China takes over and they will jack it up. So keep your eye on that. And that's about it. So www.teaserking.com if you want to get my email. Now for football, my IT guy updated the site. Really, it'll be 75 a week for pro, 75 for college, 100 for both for the week. Locks are 77 for the week. Locks for the year, 500. The monthly is 200 pro, 200 college, $300 total, and the whole year's $599 pro, $599 college, and $750 for all the picks. If you buy the college, you get the college locks. If you buy the pro, you get the pro locks. So those are included in the scenarios. So you always get the locks if you choose pro, but if you choose pro, you only get the pro locks. You don't get the college locks. So you can either take the locks or get all the picks. Usually I have at least 5 teasers in college and 5 teasers in pros, although some I will put in multiple teasers. If I like the Steelers, I will put them in 2 teasers, or if I like the Raiders or whatever, whoever I like, if it's a real good pick and I really like the matchup, I'm going to put it in probably 2 teasers. Again, you can try to increase your bankroll. We're starting small and letting it grow. The classes this year will be $50 for the pro class, $50 for college, and $25 if you want gold and economics class. I would do them private on YouTube, and that's it. So Teaser King is now updated for 2023. Off you go. Hopefully, if we do stablecoin, you can buy my picks. Oh no, we don't like it. You can't. See, that's the other thing. What are all the casinos going to do? Are you're going to shut down Caesar's Palace and MGM from taking from gambling? Are you kidding me? Well, no, it's got to be digital. Fuck, they want it all private. They don't want anybody to know what they're doing, the gamblers or the casino. So that's the stumbling block here, is the mafia not wanting drug and prostitute sales to go to digital where people can track it, or they're going to change the names to whatever, but they want cash. Here's $1,000. Here's your drugs. They don't want anything on record. So I can't imagine getting rid of the dollar completely. I can imagine switching dollars or having a gold back currency or giving us an option like we have now. If you want Bitcoin, you can buy it. If you want stocks, you can buy it. You want a Mantle card, you can buy it. You want gold and silver, you can buy it. And you want dollars, you can use your debit and credit card or the dollar. So I don't know, maybe we just use the debit and credit cards, but I just don't see the banks going away. There's too many banks that are just going to fold up because we don't use dollars anymore. Because what do I need a bank if it's all stable coin or wherever just like Bitcoin? What do? You still need a bank you sell your Bitcoin, it comes into your bank and you go get your money. So how are you going to get your Bitcoin without a bank? And how are you going to have a bank if there's no money? So there's a lot of flaws I see. I don't get it, but we will see as we go. But the more gold and silver you can buy, or a Rolex, and how are you going to sell your Rolex? Well, okay, what's it worth? Well, I so much in gold is what it's going to be worth, right? What else can we do? We can't worry about it. All we can do is get out of money, because we know that's a loser, and get into real assets, which I just said: gold, silver, Rolex, paintings, and then the like. That's your only choice. I mean, where else can you go? You can't stay in the money. It's not. We know that's not going to be worth anything. So you have to go into an asset: gold, silver, and Bitcoin, gold, silver, Rolex, Mantle cards, something. The Van Goghs, something with that's a real value, that's limited, that a lot of people want, and that's why I named those things. Anyway, I think that's it. Good luck on the baseball if you're doing it. Again, football is all set. If you are getting ready, we're still in July. People start buying middle of August, late August. I got some people that buy like payment plans. So if my year's $750, you can give me $250 in August, September, and October, and pay it off. And I'll give you passwords the 4 weeks at a time. I'm not giving you the whole year password and waiting for you to pay me. I give you what you pay for. So again, I'm only going to give you a discount if you are going to actually do it. I don't like when people promise and then they don't do it. That's a good way not to get a discount. Anyway, I'll be doing the Mac and the Sunbelt later. I think I'm going to the pool or maybe to the lake to relax and look into this court thing. But the issues to be considered, and a voluntary leave may apply. So, in other words, if I quit, then you maybe don't get unemployment, but they have to prove it, which they can't because I didn't quit. The position was eliminated. At least that's what I was told. So I don't know. So we'll see. It's a word thing, but apparently these temporary help firms are just lying through their teeth to not pay the unemployment. But they're a bunch of dickheads, basically. I'm going to scream bloody birdie when it's over. Anyway, this is next Thursday, so we'll see. Anyway, have a good day and enjoy, and let's get gold. I mean, even if it goes to 35, it's going to get. They keep doing the option game, even though people are asking for physical delivery. So it's got to be ending soon. And silver, you can see, silver's staying over the 39. It didn't come back to 38. It's still 39.20. I'll be curious when it breaks 40. Will it roll to 50 or will it, I think it'll just, they keep doing these derivatives. It just blows your mind. What are you doing? Why are you shorting this? Everybody wants gold. You're shorting it. All right. Well, have a good day, everybody. www.teaserking.com. Feel good? Go to Teaser King, get my email if you need to ask me questions or comments, what's going on with the dollar, BRICS, the war, or anything like that. I do believe the war will be ending soon, whatever that means, a month or two. But I think Putin's had enough, and it costs money. It's expensive, but I can see where George Soros is trying to make Russia spend all their money on the war, but it's not working. But we'll see. Anyway, have a good day, everybody. Take care.